The Fed has cut rates by 50 basis points. When will we see the markets react? When will Bitcoin and altcoins start to move? I want to share some details with you. And Donald Trump bought a burger today with Bitcoin. I'll break it all down for you guys. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, I'm sure many of you heard the news already, and that is the Federal Reserve has cut interest rates by 50 basis points or half a point. This is very bullish in my opinion. We are headed to the easy money cycle. We're going to see a lot more borrowing and lending. You're going to see hedge funds and VCs and the average Joe and people looking for mortgages and so forth. All of these things are going to start to ramp up. I think we're headed to the next boom cycle if you follow the historical patterns of the economy. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have corrections and micro crashes in the market. Just look at what took place earlier in August, right, with the Japanese yen trade situation, but then it recovered. So just keep that in mind. From the macro we're talking about here, we're headed to that easy money cycle, and we're going to start to see a lot of more activity in the economy as businesses are going to be able to borrow and so forth. And it means more money for people to invest in. Now, a part of cutting the rates, the Fed will now have to print money to service the debt. And that's where, as investors in crypto, we will benefit, because we've seen as global liquidity rises, asset prices have risen along with it. Here are two great charts from Raoul Pal, macro investor, showing the global liquidity supply is on the way up, and Bitcoin's price has been following it. So he's anticipating it going up. We've seen the breakout in the M2 in the United States as well as globally. So money printing is going to start again, guys. And once again, we're heading into that next boom cycle, and you're going to see the benefits in the economy. And this is where we want to watch all of these different metrics and stats and know what our plan is as far as taking profits and so forth. However, as you can imagine, today was a very volatile day. As I've been telling you guys, any week there's a Fed announcement, an FOMC meeting, there's a lot of volatility. So I can't judge this market right now. I'm actually going to wait till next week when the dust has settled and everybody's calmed down, because today we saw a lot of pumps, then dumps and so forth, and this could continue into the rest of the week. So we have to be patient, guys, and our patience will pay dividends, but we got to be patient and go through these cycles. And we're waiting for the DXY, the dollar currency index, to break down. I think it will break down below 100 very soon. Right now it's at 101. So as the Fed cuts rates, the dollar will weaken. This will start going below 100, and then it's a full risk on. Investors, they're going to start to put money back into risk assets like crypto and the stock market. I've been telling you guys that there's 6 trillion sitting in money market accounts, and as the rates continue to drop, those people are not going to get the same return, the same yield. They will now move it to risk assets as the money printing cycle starts. So keep all of these things in mind. It's when we don't want to invest with our emotions here. We want to look at the data and the facts and form our thesis. And as I've been saying, September is pretty much a bad month for markets. So I'm not anticipating anything wild or crazy or significant this month as far as gains. But come October, as we head into November and the whole of Q4, we should start to see some very strong rallies, and hopefully Bitcoin can hit a new all-time high, and then its gravitational pull in altcoins, it pulls them with it, and we start to see more gains. So that's my outlook. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, so none of these things are guaranteed, but we're using the data at least to form our thesis. We're using historical patterns to form our thesis. So that's what we want to do, not with our emotions. So folks, I'm not expecting anything major in the immediate short term, but macro, guys, I am super bullish. I see the money printing on the horizon. I see the lower rates. I see what's coming. Now, I do want to give a word of caution. Some people are saying, hey, I'm worried about this because historically, when the Fed has cut rates, the markets have tanked. Well, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Could we have already seen the tank or the crash back in early August with the Japanese yen trade? If you look at the S&P 500, that's a big pullback. Plus, you had a pullback in early September. So could that be the pricing in of the rate cut, right? That's something to keep in mind. And this is not like 2008. We don't have a big mortgage real estate bubble where there's fraudulent loans and all kinds of nonsense. You guys know what took place there, right? So we're nowhere near that. In fact, the housing market is pretty much dead. People are not selling because they've locked in low rates. So I say all these things to paint the picture of let's look at facts and form our thesis here. So I'm not expecting any type of 2008, 2001 crash. And if you look at what took place in 2020, March 2020, you guys know what took place, right? The markets crashed. But what happened? The Fed cut rates immediately and started printing money. And if you look at the V shape, it's incredible. That should have maybe took us into depression levels, but it didn't. That was a significant black swan event, and it didn't. They bailed us out. And we've seen Janet Yellen has been bailing out the markets over the past few years. Look at what took place with the banking collapses in early 2023. Why didn't the collapse of SVB and those other banks have a bigger impact on the market? Because the Fed and Janet Yellen at the Treasury stepped in. She's been doing quantitative easing, stealth QE, as some would call it. So I'm not worried about some major crash because we don't have any setup like 2008 and what the Fed and Treasury are doing now. They're going full money printing, right? Full on money printing that, oh, something broke, print more money, inject liquidity. That's what we're seeing. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is what the world we live in. So those are the things I'm looking at for those who are saying, dude, this is bad. It means a big crash is coming. I think your big crash took place earlier in August. Look at the charts. Look at the S&P. That was a pretty significant pullback. So look, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm looking at, as far as historical patterns and what is happening in the current day with the Treasury and the Fed. All right, let's move ahead, folks. Today, Donald Trump made a surprise visit to PubKey. I don't know how many of you know about it. It's a bar. They have great burgers. I've been there a couple of times, and they are pro Bitcoin. So you can go there and buy a burger and beer with Bitcoin. He showed up and he actually bought something with Bitcoin. Now, the video, I'm not sure how many saw the clips, but they were having a little bit of issues scanning the QR code and doing some of the things. So it was a little bit cringe, but I think in the grand scheme, this is so bullish for crypto. I mean, you got a former presidential candidate doing this. And once again, you can hate Donald Trump or you can love him. That's not the point I'm trying to bring home here. I'm talking about adoption. I'm talking about crypto being ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Pop culture, in politics, in TradFi, and everywhere, guys. That's the point. So pretty significant that Donald Trump did this. I'm not going to play the video because it's just Fox News showing them trying to figure out the QR code and so forth. But the point is they did eventually get it done, and he paid in Bitcoin. Significant move. In fact, some folks like Anthony Pompliano were there and so forth. They said this was a surprise thing, but I guess some people knew about it. If I knew he was going to be there, I would have shown up because I've attended events here at this bar and went there for a couple of times with some friends. So pretty significant stuff. Now, speaking of Bitcoin, the state of Louisiana becomes the first in the nation to accept Bitcoin via the Lightning Network. The Louisiana Treasury proudly announced the payment as well as their ability to accept Bitcoin and USD stablecoins. Folks, we've crossed the chasm. It's incredible what's taking place. I hope you see how bullish this news is. Now, BlackRock continues their promotion of Bitcoin and crypto. While people are scared and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, BlackRock today put out a 9-page white paper that makes the case for Bitcoin ETFs as a unique diversifier that can hedge against fiscal, monetary, and geopolitical risk, and also includes a section called Bitcoin's Path to a $1 trillion market cap. And you can go read that white paper, guys. You know what? I'll link to it in the description so you can check it out. The world's wealthiest asset manager is putting out a white paper here on Bitcoin and why you should invest in Bitcoin. Guys, and if you look at this, they have a chart analysis in here. It's amazing. I am so bullish. I don't care what the hell happens tomorrow or early next week. Oh no, the market's down. No, I'm bullish long term, guys. Now, this content is brought to you by VeChain. VeChain is one of the top layer one enterprise blockchains out in the market. Many big companies are using VeChain to build Web3 and decentralized app ecosystems. I'm a VET token holder. I have been for many years. I'm very bullish on this project. Some of the great benefits of the VeChain blockchain include it is secure, affordable, scalable, fast, and sustainable. Some of the brands working with VeChain include PwC, Sam's Club, Walmart China, BMW, and they are also working with Boston Consulting Group. So VeChain is a project to pay attention to. They're doing some great things. All right, moving ahead, Europe's third biggest stock exchange is exploring launching a Bitcoin and crypto exchange. Of course they are. Of course they are. Everybody wants to get a piece of this pie. No one wants to get left behind. Game theory is playing out here. You got the largest financial institutions in the world, banks, stock exchange, investment firms are all jumping in. And the on-ramps are being built globally for both retail and institutional capital. Here's some more bullish news. Google Cloud releases an Ethereum compatible RPC service. So Google has been doing a lot with crypto. They're part of the Hedera governing council. They've been testing a lot with Chainlink and Ethereum and so forth. So Google rolled out a blockchain remote procedure call, RPC, to let developers access blockchain data through API calls. It supports the Ethereum mainnet and its test networks with plans to expand to additional blockchains next week. Do you see what's happening? The biggest tech companies in the world are building with this technology, integrating it, launching services. Just the other day, I told you guys about Sony and that electronic maker and tech company. They launched their own blockchain called Sonium. And in fact, they partnered with Circle to do some things with USDC recently. And they are planning to launch a crypto exchange in Japan. This is amazing stuff, folks. I am so bullish. Now, we got some big news here about BitGo. You may recognize them. They're one of my sponsors. So BitGo to enter the stablecoin market with reward-bearing USDS coin. So it seems like everybody's launching a stablecoin these days. So BitGo says it's launching a stablecoin in January 2025. Called USDS. This stablecoin will provide rewards to institutions which power its liquidity. So BitGo is one of the top tier custodians in the market. They are working with many big companies. They custody some of the funds for ETFs, the ETF issuers, and BitGo works with exchanges, hedge funds, and so forth. So launching a stablecoin makes sense. I think we're going to see a lot more stablecoins come into the market. It just makes sense. Now, eventually that market will become saturated where eventually, you know, the winners are going to be clear and the losers are going to end up getting acquired or go out of business. That's just the nature of markets. We've seen it many times over, but it's great that these folks are building these solutions. And stable coins are one of the biggest use cases of blockchain and crypto, folks. And one of the great things is they add utility to different blockchains. You look at USDC, it's available in so many blockchains, right? It's not specific to one chain. So that's a great thing and helps these different chains to grow as well and adds more liquidity to them. Now, here's another stablecoin that's coming, Revolut. Many of you may have heard of that app. I think they're more UK based. They're going to launch their own stablecoin. So like I said, the stablecoin market is heating up. It's almost stablecoin wars now. It's an all-out competition. I just interviewed the other day Robinhood's crypto general manager, and I asked them, I said, hey, are you guys planning to launch a stablecoin? Robinhood has a huge customer base. They're expanding to Europe, so it would be pretty beneficial to them to do that. But he of course can't answer that question. So I expect, you know, almost everybody to do this. It absolutely makes sense because you can make money off the stable coin. You can increase settlement within your own customer base and network. So it absolutely makes sense. Now, guys, today was the big SEC hearing where it didn't include the SEC folks, right? But it was called the, let me pull it up here, Dazed and Confused, breaking down the SEC's politicized approach to digital assets. So, of course, the SEC coming under major criticism here. You had a bunch of industry folks who showed up and were highlighting how hard it has been to run a crypto business under this administration. And, you know, we've covered it time and time again, all the Wells notices, all the lawsuits. But I think what's important here, the major takeaway, and it's significant because of who it came from, and that is Dan Gallagher. He's the chief legal officer and corporate affairs officer at Robinhood, and Dan used to work at the SEC. So this is where his comments carry a lot of weight, right? You got an ex-SEC official, he works for Robinhood and so forth. Here's what he said. We heard Chair Gensler's call to come in and register loud and clear, said Gallagher, who was previously a Republican commissioner at the SEC. Admittedly, I scratched my head a bit because there was no established regime, at least published regime, but being seasoned securities lawyers, we thought we'll just roll up our sleeves. And he talked about how it's been difficult and the SEC has just been tough to work with. And, there was the naysayers out there, the Warrenites, the Elizabeth Warren cronies who were trying to push back. But this was an important hearing because it sets the table for the big hearings coming next week. One with Gensler himself, by himself, I should say. And then the next one where Gensler with the other four commissioners at the agency. That one is going to be interesting. So it's great that the table is being set here because what this also does, I know some of you may say, oh, they're just talking all these letters. It's actually helping to bring awareness to the problems with the SEC because there are still a lot of people in Congress who are naysayers, who are not educated, right? That's a common issue. Put the naysayers aside. There's a lot of people who don't know much about what's happening. They just think, oh, whatever, I'll follow Elizabeth Warren. But what I've heard from people in DC, the more advocacy, the more education work we do, and we can get a lot of these people to leave Elizabeth Warren's anti-crypto army. Remember that Republican member of Congress, I forgot his name. Excuse me, he was a senator. He was backing Elizabeth Warren. He was co-signing Elizabeth Warren's de facto crypto ban bill. He backed out. So that's what we want, right? We want to pull these people away from Elizabeth Warren, who she's lied to and so forth. And we're seeing some of that. So this is why these hearings, these letters are important, even though there's no immediate tangible response to it. It's a snowball effect. It's slowly building, and we're building momentum here and stealing people away from Elizabeth Warren. Part of that process is crypto spending a lot of money, as I've been telling you guys in the election. Here, Eleanor Terrett says, crypto advocacy group mobilizes 100,000 voters as election day nears. Stand with Crypto will celebrate its Stand with Crypto Day tonight in DC. So that's happening right now with appearances from Brian Armstrong, Wally Nickel, Patrick McHenry, and the Chainsmokers. So we're seeing events like this, which are important, getting voters out. And don't get me wrong, crypto has been spending and supporting pro-crypto candidates on the Democrat and Republican side. So we're making progress, guys. I'm optimistic. We've come so far. I mean, just last week we had a hearing on DeFi, and the first ever, and that was surprising to me. Getting the FIT21 bill passed out of the House earlier this year was surprising. So I think next year we're going to see a lot more progress, and we've come so far. So I'm very bullish. The macro is setting up. The legislation side is setting up. Big things happening here, folks. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Be sure to sign up for my free email newsletter on Substack. It's 100% free. And don't forget to grab a copy of my book, Rethinking Crypto, on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. Grab a copy to support the podcast. Grab a few copies for your friends and family who want to learn about crypto. And if you bought a copy already, please leave a rating and review. It will really help me out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.